Okay, so good afternoon, class. So we are now with your module 3, which is entitled as Carbohydrates and Cellular Respiration. So let me start with the objectives of this module. So these are the following objectives. So discuss the types and classification of carbohydrates, explain the importance and metabolism of glucose, demonstrate the glycolysis process, locate the process of cellular respiration, which include the Krebs cycle and etc. Discuss the importance of cellular respiration. Differ, differentiate the three stages of cellular respiration and inculcate the number of ATPs produced in three stages of cellular respiration. So let's start with this picture. So if you notice, these are the food. So like for example, these are the bananas, potatoes, okay, so on so. All of these foods are made up of carbohydrates, okay? So which means that even the grains or even the apple, which are made up of carbohydrates or made up of source of energy. Okay, so this is the formula of your carbohydrate. So when you say, if you notice the word carbohydrates, came from the word carbon. So which means that there is a presence of carbon, which is letter C here. And then hydrate means that there is a presence of water. So what is the formula of your water? This is OH. Okay, so with structure of your carbohydrates, these carbohydrates are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay, so if you notice, there are 6 carbon atoms here. So the formula of the monomer of your carbohydrates, okay, so it is made up of 6 carbons. So here, I want to emphasize, okay, so the three elements which are present in your carbohydrates. So these are your hydrogen, carbon, and then the oxygen. Okay, so this one is on how to metabolize, okay, these carbohydrates inside our body. So let us first explain about the process of digestion of carbohydrates inside our body. So as we eat food, okay, so if this food introduced inside our mouth, our nose first detect the uh, the smell of this food. So our saliva is produced by our salivary gland, which is came from your brain in order to moisten the food. So through the presence of your salivary amylase, as I have said, if it is an enzyme, there is an ASE at the end. So the salivary amylase, okay, is an enzyme that uh, catabolize or break down these carbohydrates into a simple sugar. So let's start here with our stomach. So from your mouth, so through the process of mastication. So when you say mastication, class, it is a chewing of food using your teeth and then moistened by your saliva and push into your as you swallow, this food is pushed into your esophagus, going to your stomach. So this one is your stomach. So inside your stomach, there is a gastric juice produce a hydrochloric acid in order to digest to break down this food into smaller particle aside from your salivary amylase in your mouth. Okay, so there are carbohydrates which are easily to digest and not easily to digest. So which means that it depends on the type of carbohydrates that you are eating. Okay, so from your stomach, okay, it goes into your small intestines. There are other carbohydrates which are not easily to digest. So which means that it is necessarily to go into your small intestine, but they are in the process of disaccharides. Okay, there are carbohydrates that in your stomach, this is already digested and goes out into your small intestine, okay, for final absorption. But the most important is that your small intestine, Okay, your small intestine is important for final absorption. Okay, so here from your small intestine, okay, this disaccharides ay magiging monomer na siya. So what is the monomer of your carbohydrates? So this is your glucose. So your glucose, okay, this one. So your glucose is a monomer or the monosaccharide of your small intestine goes into your bloodstream. Okay. So this is your small intestine and it is distributed into the blood plasma or into the bloodstream. Okay, if this monosaccharides ay pumasok na sa ating bloodstream, it goes it goes throughout the body, going to the cells, going to the different organs, okay, so your liver, your brain, your muscle cells, okay, in order to function. Okay, there are some carbohydrates, so like for example, your fiber, which is the nutrients are distributed into your bloodstream, but the excess food is undigested. So it goes into your large intestine for excretion. Okay, as I have said that your green leafy vegetables, these are fibers. They're made up of cellulose, which are undigested. So it goes into your large intestine. So they are known as laxative. So that is the reason why that there are some doctors, okay, na uh, they want to uh, they want to emphasize that you have to eat green leafy vegetables. So it goes into your large intestine as a laxative para ilabas through anus. Okay, so that's the process on how the digestive or the metabolism of carbohydrates. So what is ATP molecule? So I have mentioned this already. Okay, your ATP, this is currency energy, which is used used during metabolism. So here, your carbohydrates. So later, let us see what is ATP. So lalagyan natin siya ng application. So this one is the classification of carbohydrates. So your carbohydrates are classified into two. I have mentioned this already with your previous before we end our lesson past 2 weeks. Okay, so your carbohydrates are divided into two. So these are your simple and your complex carbohydrates. Okay, so when you say simple carbohydrates came from the word simple, it is either monosaccharides or disaccharides. So they are easily to digest. So what are the monosaccharides of your carbohydrates? So these are your glucose or fructose and your galactose, and your disaccharides. So these are your maltose, lactose, and your sucrose. So when you say disaccharides class, these are made of two monosaccharides. So like for example here your maltose, these are made of two glucose, your lactose made up of glucose, and your galactose and your sucrose, these are made up of uh, glucose and then with your fructose. So if you notice with your previous experiment, if you notice there is a formation of brown color or there is a presence of color as this sugar is absorbed into water because your sucrose or your table sugar is one of the examples of your sucrose or the saccharides because these are made of glucose and then the other one which is what you call the fructose. Your sugar came from sugar cane. So when you say sugar cane, it is a fruit. Okay, so if you notice there is changes in may change yung color niya. So parang brownish. Okay, so that is the original color of fructose came from sugarcane. Okay, how about when you say complex carbohydrates? So came from the word complex, parang komplikado, because these are polysaccharides. So came from the word poly. Okay, so when you say poly, many, and when you say saccharides, which mean sugar. So this one, mono, nag-iisang sugar. Disaccharides means two sugars. Polysaccharides, these are made of many sugars. But your fibers, okay, among polysaccharides, it is not without the presence of glucose. Nutrients are found in fibers, but it is excreted out of the anus. It is made up of undigested foods. So let us tackle first about polysaccharides. So there are three examples of polysaccharides. So if you notice with your Google, there are oligosaccharides are mentioned in your Google. So we don't have any examples kasi in food if it is termed in oligosaccharides. So the polysaccharides ang mention ko. So your polysaccharides, these are your starches, your fibers, and your glycogen. So these are the examples of simple carbohydrates. So this one is a bread. There are there are some bread which are considered as complex carbohydrates. So like for example, the wet bread. So yung mga content na food which are nutritious bread, okay, they are under the complex carbohydrates. But here in the picture, your simple carbohydrates, so these are made of soft drinks, juices, bread, the pasta, and then the cookies. So they are under simple carbohydrates. They are easily to digest, especially the liquid. So your liquid kasi it is already digested, so it goes into the final absorption. So if there is a nutrients with your soft drink, so it goes into the bloodstream, but not it goes into your kidneys for excretion or so and so. Okay, these are the examples of your complex carbohydrates. So these are came from fruits, some fruits, and also from vegetables. Okay, so the green leafy vegetables, they are under the complex carbohydrates. These are into classified monosaccharides or disaccharides for your simple. So your simple carbohydrates give an immediate source of energy, but it makes a person hungry again. So which means that if you are eating simple carbohydrates class, okay, it is easily to digest because they are made of monosaccharides or disaccharides. So they are easily to digest, mabilis siyang may digest sa food sa katawan natin and you feel hungry again. So for diabetic persons, okay, so usually ang pinaka main cause yun yung mga mahilig kumain-kain. Okay, so the examples of your simple sugars are bread, candies, and your sugars. Okay, how about when you say monosaccharides? So mono means one and saccharides means sugar. These are simply as carbohydrate, also known as simple sugars made up of single polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketone units with general formula of CH2O. So as I have said, your CH2O and C6H12O6, okay, so they are the same. So parang na-simplify lang yung monosaccharides with the formula of C6H12O6 into CH2O. Okay. So these are your three monosaccharides. So these are your glucose, your fructose, and your galactose. Okay, so monosaccharides, these are simple carbohydrates which the body cannot break down further, allow the body to be absorbed quickly and easily. So kaya siyang i-absorb ng ating katawan quickly because they are made of monosaccharides. Okay, di ba? Naalala nyo with your digestive process that your final absorption, okay, before it is distributed into your bloodstream, it is necessarily to convert this first into monosaccharides. So since these are already monosaccharides, there is no need for them to break down. Okay, so they are absorbed quickly and easily. Okay, there are three types of monosaccharides as I've mentioned. So your glucose comes from the food that we eat or drink. Okay, so the glucose that we eat came from the food. The glucose came from the food that we eat. Okay, so like for example, your candies, yung dessert, bread, honey, and soft drinks. But there are some bread class, they are considered as polysaccharides class. Okay, this with fiber bread. Okay, fructose is also known as fruit sugar from fruits and beverages. So came from, like for example, your red wine came from grapes, so they are under the fructose, that is under the fermentation. How about when you say galactose? This is a main source from lactose, so which means that this galactose is not alone. So the sugar in milk and milk products like cheese, yogurt, and butter, they are considered as generally as galactose, but they are the main source from lactose because that is a combination with the presence of milk. How about when you say disaccharides? So came from here, if you notice class, they are made of two ring or the benzene ring. So these are the two monosaccharides which are covalent bonded together, the saccharides are formed through glycosidic linkages, and this is formed if the hydroxyl group reacts with one sugar and a numerication carbon at the second sugar. So which means that they are combined of two monosaccharides. So like for example, these are your sucrose. Okay, so these are the combination of your glucose and your fructose. Your maltose is a combination of two glucose, and your lactose with a combination of your galactose and your glucose. The second one here is what you call the complex carbohydrates. So these are your polysaccharides, which are made of long chains of sugar molecules. So look at this. It is made up of long chains. Okay, this is starches. So these are one of the examples of polysaccharide. Okay, it is necessarily to convert these polysaccharides into a glucose molecules before it is distributed into the bloodstream. That is the reason why there are um, there are some enzymes which are found still into your final absorption or into your small intestine because there are polysaccharides which are not easily to digest. So it goes into your final absorption, into your small intestines. They are still in disaccharide, so they need an enzyme so that it is converted into glucose. So for example, your sucrase, your lipase, your proteinase, still, they are found in your small intestine in order to convert these disaccharides into a monosaccharide. Okay, so if you notice, so your starches, these are made of polysaccharides, okay, pahabaso class, okay, they are made of um, this one. Okay. So these are made of whole grains, and food consists of fibers like your vegetables, your beans, some fruits, and complex carbohydrates. So these are the examples of your complex carbohydrates. Okay, as we eat food, if you notice with the picture and the first part, the apple is considered as made up of carbohydrates. That is the reason why matamis-tamis yung ating fruits. That is the reason why for those who are with diabetes class, they are may constriction or there is a restriction on how to take what do you call that? The fruits in the body because they are made of glucose or content of sugar. As we eat food from the complex carbohydrates, we feel full for a longer time, which are more beneficial compared to simple sugars. Okay, so if we eat a complex carbohydrates, we feel uh, full. So busog tayo because uh, they are made of complex carbohydrates. So this help to maintain weight and prevent type 2 diabetes and your cardiovascular diseases. So because they are non-fat, so they prevent cardiovascular diseases like, for example, heart diseases. And then for the type 2 diabetes, because this complex carbohydrates, which are made of fibers, they are non-fat. It is not converted into sugar as compared to your potatoes or your starches. So your starches kasi it is converted into many sugars, while your fibers, they are undigested food. So it goes into your bloodstream. Okay, this is an oligosaccharides here. It is mentioned about the polysaccharides, which are made of from complex carbohydrates. So this one. Okay, so your polysaccharides are made up of two. So these are your homopolysaccharides. And then the other one, which is what you call the heteropolysaccharides. So if you notice when you say homo means one, which means these are made up of same repeating unit. So there are pare-pareho lang yung kanyang unit with the formation of monosaccharides is a single type. Okay, how about when you say heteropolysaccharide? So, para siyang, it is not in the process with the same units. So, they are in different repeating units. Okay, this one, there are three types of complex carbohydrates. So, these are your starches, as I have mentioned, the fibers, and then your glycogen. So, let's start with your starches. These are type of complex carbohydrates which are found from roots, seeds, and plant tubers. Okay, starches contain two components of two glucose polymers, that is your amylopectin and your amylose. So I have mentioned before that your amylose, it is 20%, I think it's here. Okay, so your amylose is 20%, which is made up for your starch, and 80% which is made up of your amylopectin. Which means that your starches, meron siyang dalawang components. So these are your amylose and your amylopectin. In your starch, there are 80%, which is under your amylopectin, and 20% came from your amylose. As we eat starchy foods like your potatoes, these are broken down into sugars through digestion. Okay, so it is digested for our body in order to give cell energy. So which means that, hindi ba, if it is distributed, if it is inside your small intestine, okay, if it is already a monosaccharide, it goes into your bloodstream for transportation, or to distribute to the different cells of the body, or to the different organs of the body. Okay? So these are your carbohydrates. So these are your starch molecules. Okay? So if it is, so it is made up of, your starch is made up of long chain. Okay? This is polysaccharides, which is, if it is digested, so it produces a sugar molecule. So which means that your starches are produce sugar molecules. How about when you say fibers? These are undigested complex carbohydrates at the cell wall of the plants. So which means that these are found at the cell wall of the plant. So ano yung nakikita natin? So that is your cellulose, which are undigested foods. Okay, so fibers cannot be broken down into sugar molecules. Okay, hindi siya kagaya ng ating starches. Okay, your starches is converted into sugars, while your fibers, these are converted into undigested food and excreted out of the anus. So they are laxative. Okay. How about when you say glycogen? So this is a complex carbohydrates which is synthesized by your liver and your muscle. So sometimes it is distributed. The excess glucose is converted into stored energy, which is may mga bilbil tayong nakikita. Okay, so this glycogen is converted or synthesized by your liver and your muscle, which is stored by the body for future use. So the muscle glycogen, okay, so through the use of muscle cell, glucose is converted, and the liver glycogen, glucose is converted and distributed throughout the body. So take note, class, that you are, that your glycogen, okay, it is converted, it is deposited inside the body into your muscles and into your liver. Okay, so your liver glycogen, it is through the use of your to the excess glucose. Okay, so here there is a pancreas here. So your pancreas and your liver go hand in hand in order to uh, convert this excess, and if there is a depletion of glucose in the body. Okay, this one is your pancreas. Your pancreas, okay, if the food is converted into a monomer into your small intestine, it is into your small intestine, class. Okay, so this one, it is distributed throughout the body. Before that, sa bloodstream muna siya inilalagay. If the pancreas, okay, detect that there is an increased glucose into your bloodstream, class. Okay, so if there is an increased glucose into your bloodstream, okay, so this pancreas release a hormone, which is what you call the insulin. So your insulin communicate with your liver, okay, this one, that this excess glucose into the bloodstream is converted into stored energy, which is what you call the glycogen. So masostore ngayon ang ating fats or yung ating calories or excess glucose into your liver. So this one, your liver is meron na siyang fats kasi hindi ba sinustore doon sa liver yung lahat ng fatty acids or lahat ng fats. Okay, sinustore siya. Pero may limitations kasi yung ating atay. So your atay, Di ba, inside your atay, there is a presence of your bile, and then out of your bile, this is a presence of your gallbladder. So that is the pouch. Okay, this is the one that protect the bile. Okay, take note that all of this, they have the same function to digest these fats. Okay, but this glucose, it is converted into stored energy, or it is converted still into fats. Okay? And this is, hindi sila kayang i-digest ng liver. If there is an excess, aside from this, i-convert sila into stored energy, okay, your liver also need to function. So, when ito nagpa-function ng ating liver, if there is a depletion of glucose into the bloodstream, di ba, para kang naihilo, your glucagon now is the one released by your pancreas. So, through this, your pancreas is released a glucagon, a hormone, and then communicate with the liver that this stored energy is converted into glucose. Okay, so magtataas na ngayon ang glucose content sa ating bloodstream. Okay, next is this is a digestive process. Okay, as I have mentioned, so this is an oral cavity. If you place food inside your mouth, it is moistened by your saliva produced by your salivary gland, and then your salivary amylase, which is an enzyme, help to to break down, or this is act as a catalyst, break down this polysaccharides into simple sugars. Okay, so it goes into your stomach via your esophagus. So which means dadaan sa ating esophagus going to your stomach. Okay, in your stomach, there is a presence of your hydrochloric acid, which is the one that helps to break down these polysaccharides, and with the help of your amylase, okay, there are different enzymes which are present also in your stomach to convert this saccharides into a monomer. So it goes into, so there is a gallbladder here. So when you say gallbladder class, it is the one that is a pouch that protect your bile. Okay, so dito lang muna tayo sa ating pancreas. This one is your small intestine. So from your stomach, it goes into your small intestine, okay, for final absorption. Okay, there are some disaccharides there are disaccharides still in your small intestine pagpasok dun sa ating duodenum, and it is converted into monosaccharides. So if these are already monosaccharides, it goes into your bloodstream for distribution of nutrients. So pagkasama na yung nutrients into your bloodstream, it goes into the different cells of the body. So if it is under the fibers, okay, they are made of undigested foods, or if there is an excess food, which if there is there are different components which are necessary to excrete out of your large intestine. Okay, class, so this is your large intestine. Okay, ulit. So, like for example, if you are eating starches, okay, these polysaccharides are through the presence of your amylase. This is an enzyme. Okay, but there are some other, it is not only amylase, but also you have amylase kasi it is for carbohydrates. There are also the lipase for your lipids, so on so. So polysaccharides are converted into disaccharides. Okay, so these are your maltose, sucrose, and your lactose. And this one, through the presence of your maltase for the maltose, for your sucrose for the sucrose, and your lactose for your lactase. All of these are the enzymes that help to digest these disaccharides into a monosaccharides. Okay, class. So what are the factors affect absorbed carbohydrates? So it doesn't mean that we have a digestive process, but we need also other factors that affect the absorption of your carbohydrates. So which means absorption, which means that it is before it is distributed to the different cells of the body, it is necessarily to absorb by the body. But not all are absorbed by the body. If you notice, for those with lactose intolerance, one of the manifestations, they are suffering from diarrhea. So mahina ang kanilang panunaw. So it is from the milk. Okay, so another one is if you have a fructose malabsorption, which means that your fructose is a monosaccharide. It cannot absorb by the body, so there is something happened along the intestines of a person, and this can cause diarrhea, one of the manifestations. So this one is your ATP. Okay, so this is the, if we recall with your monosaccharides, so your monosaccharides, these are made up of, okay, this one. This one is the outer layer. So this one, ulit. So there are two parts of your monosaccharides. So this one, of your mitochondria. So this is your outer layer of your mitochondria. Okay, there is a folds in at the outer layer of your mitochondria, so they are called as the cristae. Okay, this part is what you call the inner portion of the inner membrane of your mitochondria, and there is a space here. There is a fluids here. I know there is a fluids here. Huh? It is not only about the space, but also the fluids. Okay, so the fluids here. Okay, dito kayo malilito kasi there are, this one, oh, look at this. This is a part of the matrix. Okay, this one, if you notice, this one is the matrix and then the other one is the inner membrane. In the glycolysis process, okay, it happens inside the cytoplasm. Napansin ko to when I checking about my explanation under the mitochondria. So if you notice, this one is the matrix which is found dito, and then the inner membrane. But it says that the folds, okay, so that the folds found in the outer layer of the mitochondria, which is what you call the cristae, and then the space or the fluids. These are your matrix. So in your glycolysis process, it happens along the cytoplasm. But in your Krebs cycle, which is the second stage of cellular respiration, it happens inside the matrix. But the inner membrane here, itinuturo, which means papasok sa loob. Okay? So, that is what you call, parang hindi mali itong ano niya eh. But take note, class, that your matrix, where the Krebs cycle happens. And then, the inner membrane is the ATC. ATC happens, or the electron transport chain. What is cellular respiration? So, when you say cellular respiration, class, it refers to the metabolic pathways that happen inside the cell. So, your cellular respiration, it is not happened out of the cell, but inside of the cell. It is the release of the energy from glucose, so which means that you use the glucose, the monomer of your carbohydrate, which is the common monomer, which is glucose, is used in your cellular respiration. That comes from the food that we eat in order to produce your adenosine triphosphate. So if you remembered with our discussion that your glucose came from the food that we ate, so which means that your cellular respiration performed through the presence of food that we eat. Okay, this one. So this one, there are three processes of your cellular respiration. So these are your glycolysis process, your Krebs cycle, and your electron transport chain. So it needs energy. So through the presence of your ATP, which is the currency energy, it is released in order uh, to to break down this glucose into ATPs. Okay. So first, let us tackle about the glycolysis process. So during the glycolysis process, we need energy through the presence of your ATPs. Okay, so there are 6 carbons in your glucose, and the 6 carbon in your glucose, it is converted into 2 pyruvic acid. So your 1 pyruvic acid is equal to 3 carbon molecules. So sa bawat isang pyruvic acid ay meron siyang presence of 3 carbons. And since this during glycolysis process, under the anaerobic respiration without the presence of oxygen, okay, it is converted into 2 pyruvic acids. So dalawang 3 carbon molecules sa bawat pyruvic acid. Okay, in order to perform or in order to produce a pyruvic acid, it needs ATP. Okay, it needs ATP. Okay, your adenosine triphosphate. And then it needs also your NADH, which is an enzyme, okay, as a catalyst in order to break down. Diba? If you are breaking down a food, you need an enzyme. So here in the glycolysis process, your NADH is an enzyme. Okay, so here in your Krebs cycle, this one. So in your Krebs cycle, it happens along the matrix of the mitochondria. Okay, so as it goes into your Krebs cycle, under the Krebs cycle, it goes these three carbon molecules. These carbons are your pyruvic acids. It is combined with your oxygen, which is under the aerobic respiration because there is a presence of oxygen inside the mitochondria, and it forms a carbon dioxide. So your carbon dioxide is um is a waste material. It goes out of the cell membrane. It goes out with your mitochondria. Okay, so it produces 2 ATP still. So, napakakonti pa rin sa Krebs cycle. So, it goes into the inner portion. This one is the matrix, which means that your matrix is found at I think that is at the upper portion, kung saan pumasok ang ating the one which is what you call the acetyl-CoA, which is, it goes into the inner membrane of the mitochondria, which is under to perform this electron transport chain. So this electron transport chain, okay, so it produce ATP again to release this energy, and it produce a number of ATPs if you compare to glycolysis and then the Krebs cycle. So this one. So your glycolysis here happens, okay, in the cytosol or inside the cytoplasm. Okay, so it goes into the mitochondria along the matrix in order to perform this, what you call in order to perform this Krebs cycle, okay, it needs to produce more ATPs, so it goes inside the inner membrane. So this one, okay, this one ito, titingnan natin to class ha. This one is the glycolysis. So it happens in the cytoplasm along the cytosol. Okay, so there are your glucose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 carbon atoms. So it produces 2 ATPs in order to release energy. So this is converted into 2 pyruvic acids. So your 2 pyruvic acids, okay, it is made up of 3 carbon molecules. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4, 5, 6. So it's split into 3 carbon molecules. Okay, so through the presence of your NADH, which is an enzyme, okay, it produces, and then with the presence of your NADH, it produces 2 pyruvic acids. Okay, here. So, hindi siya masyadong naintindihan yung medyo magulo ha, class ha. So, with your glycolysis sa labas, then this as the carbon that as these pyruvic acids are combined with oxygen as it enters into the mitochondria, it forms an acetyl-CoA. Okay, then the second stage of cellular respiration happens. Okay, so this one is the Krebs cycle, which happens in the matrix of the mitochondria. Okay, so it needs an electron carriers, and even this the enzyme, which is what you call the ATP synthase. Okay, AS is sa dulo, and it produces more ATPs. Okay, magulo na siya, class. Okay, so here, okay, the net harvest here after the 3 stages, so there are 36 to 38 ATPs. So if this number of ATPs, kasi napapansin ko sa kabilang section, difference or magkakaiba ang kanilang number of ATPs because it depends on the resources. Okay, basta you have to take note that the main function or the main reason why cellular respiration is necessary in order to produce more ATPs. Okay, so there are three stages in your in order to produce ATP. So these are your glycolysis process, your Krebs cycle, and your electron transport chain. So this is the end of your in your module 3.